The SEC and Big Ten, as a part of all this, have come out, and Ross Dellinger's on top of this, with a scheduling agreement. They're working on that moving forward, how in the regular season they can play one another more often. And to me, this screams test. Can we survive in college football with 30 teams that are the SEC and the Big Ten combined and just make more money? Can we have an NFL format where we get Alabama and Michigan playing, and then the next week we have Alabama and Ohio State to bring in more revenue? How do we make bigger games more frequent? And there's a proposal memorandum of understanding that Ross Dellinger reports about. According to most who have viewed it, the SEC and Big Ten hold sole discretion on the future of the CFP format starting in 2026, the beginning of a new 6-year television agreement with ESPN that runs through 2031. We know that ESPN loves the SEC. All this is pointing to not just control of the playoff, but control of the future of college football. This is, to me, the screams, hey, Sears and GE are combining to create a monopoly. Chevy and Ford are coming together to create a monopoly and keep everybody else out of the business. These two entities want to work alone.
Yeah, I mean, how else can you help yourself by then helping someone who can help yourself, right? So the SEC and the Big Ten sort of have an opportunity, if you will, to box everyone out of relevance, right? How are you going to build up your strength of schedule when you don't play the top whatever teams, right? And that's what they're going to say to the Big 12 and the ACC is, look at your strength of schedule. You don't have any of the top ranked teams, or you each have 3, or you each have 2 combined, and we have 10 of the top 15 or whatever it is, right? They're trying to make it so they are the superior conferences. And I think they're also trying to make it so there's less of a risk factor for their teams in a way, right? If you play against, say, Texas, Ohio State, that's week 1 next year. I know that off the top of my head just because of all the Arch Manning hoopla. Texas, week 1, Ohio State. Whoever loses that game is still going to have a chance to go into the playoff. And say they have another Big Ten game, say they beat whoever it is. Say Texas loses to Ohio State and then they beat Michigan State. Right. It's like you still beat another team from the quote unquote other top conference. So you're still good. Right. So I think this is a way to sort of strengthen their own schedule, strengthen their own brands. We're going to talk about it in a little bit when we get to the Deion Sanders' impact on the Big 12. Yeah. Much of the top 100 viewed games were Big 10 and SEC games. Right. They're trying to make sure that fans aren't watching it. So that way they get even bigger TV deals, and it hurts the other conferences because in a way, Drake, and I'm going to lob you up a softball right here. What happens to the Big 12 and ACC top teams when they realize that this is no longer a suitable conference for them? What do they want to do?
I think they would probably leave at that point.
Right. So the Big 12 and the ACC top teams, Clemson, Miami, the Big 12, it could be Colorado or Utah or Iowa State, whoever it is at that time, right? They're going to want to be in the room where it happens, to quote Alexander Hamilton in Hamilton, because I just saw the play the other day. They want to be in the room where it happens. And so the best way to do that is to basically choke them out, to basically cut off all of their resources. And that will truly help them build that 2-conference super conference, if you will. And that's sort of the recipe, right? If you don't allow these teams to gain popularity, have access to the playoff, and lose TV viewership, what is their purpose?
The TV side of this, ESPN's role, according to Dellinger, another important entity involved in the conversation is the company paying $1.3 billion annually to the CFP for the rights to broadcast the playoff for the 2026 through 2023 through 2031 seasons. If I'm an investor, if I buy stock in Home Depot, I want Home Depot to succeed. If I buy stock in Home Depot and they say, hey, our next big venture is to start selling in bulk cotton candy, I'm not excited by that. I don't want, and kind of the way that relates to me to the college football playoff is ESPN investing in the CFP. They're probably not excited to see SMU and Boise State play in round 1. That's not what they want. They don't want the Home Depot to be like, yeah, I mean, we're going to do motorcycles now. Like, no, do what's worked to make us the most money. So I understand how the investor in this wants to see the best product. But what's crazy is Dellinger says, though they have not publicly commented, ESPN executives have expressed to at least some college leaders apprehension about a format that provides such lopsided automatic access. As one power broker put it, you're going to alienate part of the country. We have somehow gone so far rogue that even ESPN is saying, oh, hey, wait a second, that might not be a good idea.
Yeah, I think ESPN recognizes that it reeks of elitism, right? It reeks of, hey, we don't want you a part of our club anymore. Go away, shoo. Like go form a playoff with the group of 5, right? ESPN, while they care about viewership, while they care about what gives them the best product on the field, part of them knows that the direction college football is currently heading is killing the sport that you grew up loving. It's killing the sport that they grew up playing, loving, being excited about, right? Because if you know at the end of the day, hey, honestly, the regular season doesn't really matter because you just have to be in the top 4 in your conference. If you're the SEC or the Big Ten, you'll be fine. And then everyone else, it's like you have to fight for survival just to get into the dance, right? That's not, I don't like using the word fair because life isn't fair, but that's not really fair. Right. And that's not what college football is about. College football is, and I think there's so many things wrong with college football. It's about crowning the best team, right? It's never been about crowning the best team from a certain 2 regions, right? There's the Pac-12 died because they had horrible leadership. And I think everyone around the sport recognized like, hey, we are getting away from what made the sport great. And if we continue to do that, the sport's going to turn into the NFL. And is that what college football has always been about? I think college football has been about, and I think I myself sit in this camp, I enjoy college football because it's more unpredictable than the NFL, right? You could be down 35 and win, and in the process, you could have a fan throw a tortilla on the field, right? Unpredictable, right? In the NFL, it's like, okay, every game, the spread is 2.5, 3.5 points. This team's going to go up by 10. This other team's going to come back, and they're going to kick a game-winning field goal. That's what it feels like most of the time. And so if they get rid of this, them being ESPN, because they would have a part in this, they know that you're, like they said, alienating a certain region. It's not even like, hey, we don't want the Southwest a part of this. It is the West Coast all the way until most of Texas, right? Only Texas and Oklahoma would benefit from this. You're ruining the sport is what you're doing, to put it in layman's terms, right? You're ruining what people love college football to be. And at that point, I don't know what would happen with the rest of the fan entertainment or fan interest, excuse me.
Yeah. The report goes on from Yahoo Sports that the Big Ten, during their media days, Tony Petitti, their commissioner, said that if leaders get the postseason right, his league and others could then have the ability to play stronger non-conference matchups. So the strong arming it here too by saying, hey, we'll just create this deal with us and the SEC. If you'll give us money to buy those out, it's all connected. We could just do it that way. And again, this is where the 2 conferences want to move together with that automatic qualifying proposal as well. Conference championship weekend would look different. They would possibly even play play-in games for that last automatic qualifying spot. So we're about to go into an era of college football across the board that is not recognizable whatsoever from what we have known in the past. I think that's the goal, as long as it equates to revenue for the SEC, for the Big Ten, and the Big 12 is going to hold on and try to appease the masses as long as they can, appease the executives as long as they can, to hopefully ride that wave into the sunset with everyone else. Borba, I think Deion Sanders might be the most important coach in college football to his program. And it almost feels objective. Like, it almost doesn't, to me, deserve 8 minutes. We're going to give it that anyway, though. This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Buffs crossover.
It's 3 o'clock.